Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak, and this is Into the Weekend with BetDSI, the very, very popular call we do every Thursday with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, where we take a look ahead to the upcoming football games, and Brent tells us what kind of action he's seen so far in terms of public action, and sharp public splits, and which sides he's probably going to need. We're looking ahead right now to college football Week 13, NFL Week 12. Brent, thanks for being here once again.
Always a pleasure, Peter.
All right, let's start with college football. Let's start right in with the biggest game of the week. Obviously, is Notre Dame USC. USC is a pretty significant home underdog right now, and I'm thinking this is going to be a huge public. I'm thinking the public's got to be pounding Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, the public is on Notre Dame, and this is a good game for us because we've got so much public action on Notre Dame. It's almost evening out the sharp money we have on USC. We took sharp money on USC. Plus 5.5. The line's 5 right now at Notre Dame. So if you want to, follow along with some sharps, you're basically getting the same price unless the game lands 5, which I'm sure it happens, but not very frequently. This has been just immense action on this game. There's a few games this week I'm sure we'll talk about, like Florida State, right. This game here. Just tons of volume on all these big games this weekend. But this is a definite public sharp split with the public on Notre Dame. My count's about 2-1 in favor of Notre Dame. My money slightly favors USC because that's sharp money I've taken.
Yeah, it's so obvious to me, and it really shows you that you don't have to look down for the Middle Tennessee State games to find value in college football. Sometimes the biggest games on the card are the ones with the most value.
Yeah, especially when you get two marquee schools like this and Notre Dame getting all the the publicity that they're getting. There's it's a good story and everything, but on the road at USC is definitely a tough spot.
All right, let's start talking about the other marquee games. Yeah, Florida State. That one is the line didn't come out until late. So does that hinder the volume that you see on that game?
No, that's been this game again the Oregon State game, Oklahoma State, just tons and tons of volume on these games. This game here, we've got sharp money on Florida plus 8. We're sitting at 7 right now. Florida State at home, the favorite. But this game here, we've got sharp money basically all one-sided on Florida right now. We haven't really taken any big bets back on Florida State to even that out. Right now, my count's about 2-1 in favor of Florida. Money's about 3-1 because we've taken some really big bets.
So that means that the public's been split, or the public's been betting Florida?
Most of the public money that we've had has been on Florida State, but the sharp money is definitely on Florida.
And then Oregon State, I'm wondering how, Oregon obviously has been a huge public team for a while now, and the public's mostly won with them, even as big favorites. I'm wondering, though, how they're reacting now to Oregon's loss last week.
Well, right now, most of the action we have actually that we're trying to get back here is on the over. We took sharp money on the over 64.5. We're sitting at 65.5 right now, and we've got sharps and the public on the over there. So that's one that people can look out for. In terms of the game itself, the money's pretty much even on this one. The count does favor Oregon still, or probably about 2-1. The only sharp action we've seen on this game was when Oregon State was getting 10.5, but that went away rather quickly. So at 9.5, it's basically two-way action we've seen.
Right. I mean, that was a pretty significant move, crossing from 10.5 all the way down to 9. Was that all? I guess that was all just early sharp money?
It was sharp money early on Oregon State, yeah. And like I said, it went away pretty quickly.
Right.
The 10.5 was where most of the action came, and it just kind of didn't get anything back on Oregon when it went to 10. So we're sitting at 9.5, Oregon on the road right now.
Okay, and then a game with sort of a similar line, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. No, I'm proud to say that I nailed the 8.5 on the opening. I knew that was going to be a line that went down. Now it's now it's actually down to 6.5. That was a big early move. I assume that was all just sharp money, right?
Yeah, even at 7.5 was sharp money on Oklahoma State. Anything above 7, they were on Oklahoma State. 6.5, we're sitting right now. Not a whole lot of action back on Oklahoma there.
Really?
The count in terms of the number of bets we've taken is pretty much even, but our money is definitely heavier on Oklahoma State because of the big bets from the sharp guys.
So you didn't get any buyback at Oklahoma at 7 or 6.5 yet?
At 7, no. We're sitting at 6.5 right now, kind of waiting to see. Because some of those sharp guys who play the plus 8 or plus 7.5, they might be sitting to see how low the line's going to go at 6.5. Closer to game time, if that's their betting style, they might pick off the 6.5 and hope it lands 7.
But I would think that, if the sharps really weren't confident that Oklahoma State was the right side, that they would be buying back at 6.5 just immediately.
Right, but there are sharps who will anticipate the line move and will take the price based on the fact that it's going to move. And when it goes, when it goes through 7, they'll play back the other way. There's others who will handicap the number and say, look, I think the line should be this. And let's say they say, I think the line's should be Oklahoma -6. So as soon as they see that 7.5 or 8 out there, they grab it and they have no interest in buying back the other way.
Okay, and has there been any public action on this game? Just split or?
Pretty much split. Yeah, that's why we still need Oklahoma at this point.
Okay, and let's move on to some of the other. Oh yeah, South Carolina, Clemson. That's what I want to talk about quickly. What's the action been on that? Any notable sharp action?
Yeah, sharp action on South Carolina plus the 4, Peter. Okay. That was we're sitting at Clemson -3.5 right now. Our count is about 2-1 in favor of Clemson, which suggests a little bit more public money on Clemson, but the money is 2-1 in favor of South Carolina the other way. So that's a definite split there in terms of sharps being on South Carolina.
Okay, and then one interesting game that it's been suggested to me that Penn State might be a sharp side, but that line has actually gone down a bit. What caused that move?
Yeah, actually the only money was when it was at 3. We took some sharp money on Wisconsin plus 3.5 minus the 120. Not a whole lot of sharp money involved in this game so far, Peter, but that was the only one that really came involved was buying a half point plus 3.5, laying the minus 120 on Wisconsin. So now we're below the 2.5 and haven't really got anything back yet.
Do you think it could be that was line manipulation and then day of the game the sharps are going to pile on Penn State at less than -3?
I'll let you know Saturday afternoon.
But that could happen then, because it's been suggested to me that Penn State's a very sharp side this week, but the line movement does not reflect that at all.
Yeah, I mean, so far it doesn't, that's for sure.
Okay. All right, and then also Stanford, UCLA, both these teams are coming off of upset wins, impressive upset wins. Just curious if you've gotten a lot of action on this game, and if so, what the public sharp split has been.
Yeah, I haven't got any sharp money involved in this game so far, Peter. The money I do have is all public money, and it's pretty much one way on Stanford. The count is about 3-1 in terms of the number of wagers we've taken. Our dollar volume is about 4-1 in favor of Stanford. So far, no real sharp action involved. Definitely a one-sided game at this point in favor of the money on Stanford.
Okay, and then we talk about it every week, the Arkansas game. You want to feed me some more bullshit about how Arkansas is a sharp side this week again?
I thought we agreed that we weren't going to talk about Arkansas anymore. Last week
we agreed that I wasn't going to let you bullshit me anymore about Arkansas, tough guy. All right, tell me what.
It's right. I mean, you look at them last week, and for half a game they were really competitive, and that was it. They only showed up for half a game.
Okay.
This one, no, we got a lot of money on LSU, and we're going to need Arkansas, and you know how that's been for us so far this year.
Well, why has that line gone down a bit? I think it opened at like 12.5. Now it's around 11.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of a strange one because we do have the number of bets we've taken in favor of LSU, and the volume in favor of LSU is, suggests the line should be a little bit higher. I know there's some 11s out there. I'm using 11.5 right now. There was some sharp money plus 12.5 on Arkansas, but there's money that I respect quite a bit on LSU minus 11 as well. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird game for us right now, and all I know is that by game time, no matter what happens, I'm going to need Arkansas, and I don't like our chances.
And so the public has been betting LSU then?
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 4-1 the count in terms of the number of wagers we've taken favoring LSU.
All right, so before we move on to NFL Week 12, just let us in on any sharp action you've taken, notable sharp action on any sides and or totals in college football this week. Brent.
Well, just one of those other games that I mentioned that we had a ton of action on was Michigan at Ohio State. The line is Ohio State minus 3.5 right now. We're really one-sided on Ohio State. I've taken sharp money, -3, -3, -15 on Ohio State, and I've got almost nothing back on Michigan. The count is about 5-1 in favor of Ohio State, and the money's up there too. And so, public on Ohio State, sharp on Ohio State. That's a rough spot for us. A strong public side this week is Georgia. Georgia minus 14.5. The count's about 4-1. Money's about 4-1. All in favor of Georgia there. Another strong public side is Texas A&M. It's all public action I've gotten so far. Texas A&M is minus 22.5 right now. They're at home to Missouri. So not that sharps are involved in that game, but those are two sides that the public is all over. In terms of splits, we do have a definite sharp public split on the Michigan State game. Michigan State at Minnesota. Michigan State is favored by 7.5 right now. Sharps took Minnesota plus 8 and 8.5, and I've got all public money on Michigan State. Another similar game is Virginia. I've got sharps on Virginia plus 10.5 there. So that's the Michigan State game is one of those that we've talked about that's kind of worked out pretty well for people who watch the show, I think. It's a strong split there. And again, I think if you're getting anything more than a touchdown with Minnesota at home, you're probably in a pretty decent spot.
Right. I feel like it's pretty telling whenever the public pounds a side, like a -14 or something like that, and it's at a key number right there, and you haven't told me that you've gotten sharp action taking +14 to +14.5. That's very telling, and I would say that more often than not, the public is right if the sharps haven't come back on a key number.
Yeah, I think that Georgia game is an interesting one. We're sitting right now at 14.5. I think if you see that game drop closer to kickoff, you know that sharp action coming in there.
Right.
And again, same thing with the other game I touched on, which was where are we here? The Texas A&M game. That was all public money driving the number up from 22.5 where we are now. If that touches 23 and you see it drop down from 23, you can be pretty much assured that sharps came in grabbing Missouri plus the 23. Another game that you way down on the bottom of the board that people aren't going to look at much is UL Monroe at Florida International. Only sharp money on Florida International there. Got really sharp money. The line's UL Monroe -4 right now at 5 and 4.5. Sharps are all over Florida International.
All right, thanks so much once again, Brent, for all this great information. College football week 13. Now let's move on to NFL week 12.